Is Jennifer here?
Yep, she's here.
I'm here.
I see her.
There you are. Okay. Elliot's coming. Tim is here. Okay. So I don't see Brent yet. Anybody know where he is? Was he at the other meeting?
He's not yet here.
Oh, Brent just said he's having computer issues, still trying to log in.
Congratulations, Dan. By the way, I have an article for you about trees. I have to either mail it to you or send it to you. I think it was in the New York Times. I think you really appreciate it if you haven't already seen it.
Oh, that'd be great. Thanks, Marie.
Yeah, no, it was right up your alley, and I thought I got to hang on to this for you. And it was so much easier when I could see you in person and just bring it and hand it to you.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, maybe I'll walk the dog one block up farther instead of Kenmore and come up to Whitrig.
Yeah, there you go. If you swing by, make sure, just knock on the door. We're home. We don't go anywhere.
No.
By the way, it was a nice shout out from Lynn's funeral home about all the courtesy you gave them for, dealing with the cutting down the trees during funeral times and all of that. And I heard even from the people on the street that how, well it was received in terms of how it was done and how safely it was done. So wanted to shout that out to you and let you know people appreciated the work you did and how you did it.
Excellent. Thank you. Yeah, that was very nice of Gary to do that. I was actually talking to him today because we're going to look at starting to grind the stumps probably this week. And that's when it starts to get messy now. With springtime, everything is muddy and everything as it is. We'll be up there grinding some of them stumps and starting to clean up a little bit more.
Okay, we have Brent. He's on. So,
Can you hear me?
you good? All right, welcome. All right, we'll call the meeting of the Jamestown City Council work session of Monday, March 8th to order. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Sheldon,
Here.
James,
Here.
Karuba,
Here.
Olson,
Here.
Nelson,
Here.
Eklund,
Here.
Rem Reinhardt,
Here.
Russell,
Here.
and President Doles.
Here. Okay, at this time, do we have any public comment to be read?
I do have one that was received on February 22nd. Unfortunately, it was received about an hour prior to the voting session, so I'd like to read it tonight. It's from Christina Cardinelli, and it reads, today on Monday, February 22nd, I posed a Facebook question online to the residents of Jamestown. If you could change anything in the city, what would it be? I received many wonderful responses. However, one of the responses was alarming. I spoke with a Jamestown resident who currently lives on Tower Street in the city. According to this resident, the conditions of Tower Street are dangerous in the winter. It is very difficult to park vehicles regarding the snowplow stipulations, and the steep hills are difficult to navigate. The resident I spoke with is an older woman with mobility issues. She referred to herself as disabled. She also informed me quite a few residents living on Tower Street are elderly and disabled. This resident told me she and her neighbors have addressed this with City Council in the past, but have not received a solution. This resident, however, did offer her own solution. Allow the residents of Tower Street to park on Elm Street with no repercussions. According to the resident, Elm Street would not be interrupted since there are no businesses or families in the area where they would be parking. Allowing parking on Elm Street would eliminate the continued hassle all Tower Street residents are facing. Allowing the residents to park on Elm Street would also provide a safe solution for those with mobility issues. On behalf of the Tower Street residents, is this possible? Could we please assist the residents of Tower Street and allow them to park on Elm Street without fear of parking tickets/infractions? This would only be necessary during the winter months. I truly apologize for such short notice. It is not my intention to overwhelm the council with a hasty email. After speaking with this Jamestown resident, I am worried for her and her neighbor's safety. I would like to see this quickly addressed before any accidents occur. I just want to help some of our residents who struggle with mobility to live a little easier. Thank you for your time regarding this matter. I am available if more detail is needed. Please contact me anytime. Christina Cardinale, 322 East Fifth Street, Jamestown.
Is that, is that the only one?
That was the only one.
I know that had been discussed or was kicked around, so I don't know if
Mhm.
Jeff,
Well-
you want to mention that I know you've been dealing with it. But it's on your.
Yeah, President Dultz, well, it is on the agenda for items for discussion under Public Works, so we can address it then, if that's okay.
That'll be fine. Thank you. Okay. So if that's the only comment, then we'll move on to our reports from standing committees and the Chair of Finance, Councilwoman Eklund.
Thank you, Mr. President. First resolution is a resolution suspending the hiring freeze and authorizing the filling of one full-time police officer in the Jamestown Police Department. This funding was included in the 2021 general fund budget, and this position is being filled because it is vacant as a result of a resignation.
Thank you.
Okay, any questions or comments? Okay, the next resolution is a resolution accepting the donation of $8,500 donated by Kurt W. Grimm, owner of Rand Precision Machining Company, for an explosives detection patrol tracking canine, and $250 donated by Sloan Hewish Incorporated for the expenses related to the JPD Comfort Dog Hope. The Jamestown City Council hereby extends our appreciation and gratitude on behalf of the citizens of Jamestown to Mr. Grimm of Rand Precision Machining Company and Sloan Hewish. Note that the canine will not be purchased until spring of 2022 because the training school is not open until that time. Any further questions?
I just
Is this
wanted to
for-
make a comment on that,
Mhm.
if I could. It's kind of unrelated to the canine, but it's more about Mr. Grimm and the support that he's given to the city. I had the opportunity to meet Mr. Grimm recently. During COVID, he made it a point when businesses, restaurants downtown were only operating with takeout only. Mr. Grimm made it a point to order large quantities of food from our local restaurants, takeout, and then provided them to his employees down there. Not only was it a kind gesture to his employees, but also it definitely helped some of our downtown businesses.
Rose.
I think he froze on us. We could hear him for a while, but now he's out. So, so Jeff, if he comes back, he can continue. I don't know if you want to move on, Kim, and then if he comes
Yep.
back. then-
Sure. Third and fourth resolution are bond anticipation notes, but the third resolution is authorizing the payment of $47,218.40 in accordance with a bond and note requirement as follows. Bond anticipation notes series 2020A, issue of March 4th, 2020, $47,218.40 for 12 months interest at 2% per annum and $3,934,170. Just to note that both of these bond anticipation notes deal with DPW and Parks, Fire Department, fleet maintenance, and City Hall improvements. Any other questions or comments on this one? Okay, the number fourth resolution is authorizing the payment of $7,187.71 in accordance with a bond and note requirement as follows. Bond anticipation notes series 2020B, issue of August 12th, 2020, $7,187.71 for 6 month interest at 1.25 per annum and $1,532,489. Any questions or comments on that? the next two items we have, one is an informational report, and I will let Ryan talk about that. That's the fourth quarter sales tax discussion.
Councilman Eklund, I just wanted to give the council an update on our fourth quarter sales tax payment we did receive in February. The total amount was $1,780,168.
You're cutting out, Ryan.
Yeah.
Can you hear me okay now, or?
Yeah.
Yep, better.
Go ahead. You cut out at 1 million.
So $1,780,168. That was $116,000 above the same time frame last year. It's about 7% higher than last year, which is an excellent result and a nice surprise in an otherwise kind of tough year for us financially. Our original 2020 budget was $6.5 million. So that means we will have received about 104.78% of our 2020 budget. And just to kind of compare that to last year we received 108.31% of our budget. As compared to 2019 in total, our sales tax is $95,000 higher, and it's about 1.42% more than the $6.7 million we received in 2019.
That's great news. And again, I want to stress that part of, I think some of the increase we're seeing is due to the increase in internet sales being now taxed. So I think that's definitely helping, especially during COVID. That seemed to be the way to go for most people. So, and I think we're seeing some of the rewards of that.
So just to be clear, we're just shy of $100,000 increase from 2019 to 2020. And it's absolutely remarkable when you think about where we thought we would be. Think about what could have been in a normal year. It would have been crazy, but it's excellent news that we were at least able to make budget and then some. So that's great. Thank you.
Jeff, are you able to finish what you wanted to say? Did you want to finish that now before we move on to the next one?
Yeah, that's fine. I don't know how much you guys caught. I apologize about that. I don't know what happened. Bad signal or something. But I just wanted to mention about Mr. Grimm. I had the opportunity to meet him recently. And I just wanted to share, I know it's kind of not related to the canine, but during COVID, he made it a point to visit downtown businesses and spent a lot of money purchasing food from these businesses and then giving it to his employees, which not only helped the businesses, but also obviously was kind to his employees. And he's a big supporter of the city, and he continues to want to support the city with this donation for the new canine.
I would agree.
Very good. Thank you.
And the last item we have for discussion is that we have finance met earlier to discuss a couple items, one of which I'm going to bring the mayor on to discuss in detail with Ryan. The Parks, Recreation, and Conservation budget adjustment discussion, which involves summer staffing and programming. So, floor is yours, Mr. Mayor.
Sounds good. Thank you, Councilmember Eklund. So there is obviously some concern over how we're going to handle the reopening of all of the parks, the additions of sports, baseball, football, softball, you name it. Almost all of them are coming back, working with the stadium, working with the Tarp Skunks for some minor league baseball there. And so those are all things that we were looking at when we all got together with the parks and with our public works department and finance to talk about how do we make sure that the parks are fully open this year and ready to go. How do we ensure, and I know this was Councilmember Karuba's concern, how do we make sure that we have all the bathrooms open, that they're accessible, and that we're able to ensure that our citizens can enjoy all the benefits we have with parks. So in working with our parks crew, we have come up with a recommendation this year to adjust the budget to ensure that we have the staffing needed to continue to keep the parks open and to support all of the sports teams and other recreation that will be happening in the parks. Our recommendation at this time does not require a lot of budget changes, although a few. We did budget for the majority of the parks to be open in general line items, but we do need to increase our seasonal staffing positions, our summer help, by an additional 7 employees. To give you an example, we normally have 15 summer employees that we would have, and in the past, we've reduced that down tremendously. We would, by adding 7, that puts us at a total of 13 employees. We already had 6 budgeted for. So we would have a total of 13 additional summer help. We would also bring back the recreation coordinator position for the entire year and a half-time view, half-time salary. And in doing so, that creates a budget line item, a total that we would need to add to the budget of around $90,511. Now, in working with Ryan and our finance department, we know that we will be receiving, or we believe we'll be receiving back from the state some aid to the municipality. Once we receive that aid to the municipality and we remove the fund balance that you had already allocated as a council, that would leave us with approximately $121,000 that can be allocated back towards the parks. So this stays way below that number and allows us to fully open the parks and be prepared for sports this year. Questions, comments, concerns?
Just a quick comment. I want to thank you for getting on that. I know right after the first of the year, we had a discussion about where we would be at this particular time and not really knowing when and if things could open. And the good news is that it looks like it's sooner than later. And, I want to thank you and Ryan in particular in the parks, Dan and others, Jeff and whoever, John Williams was part of that discussion to come up with not only the plan, but the financial aspect of it as well to try to get things back to somewhat level of normalcy. So I thank you for getting on that and getting the information out. Here we are only in the second week of March and we're already talking about. We weren't sure when we passed the budget. We had a great debate as to the position as well as the whole Parks Department discussion on what we could and what we couldn't have. So it's good news all the way around, and that we do have some things starting to open up, and we should be close to fully functioning by late spring and into summer.
Mr. President, I have a couple questions. When you say the whole summer, are we looking at, now you just said early spring, early summer. What are we looking at the whole summer, like June till September or August for the parks to open up? And when you say part-time salary, what exactly does that mean?
Sure thing, Councilmember James, I can respond to that. So we took these numbers and budgeted as if things were to start opening up March 15th. So within the next week or two, we've already instructed the Parks Department that we will be planning on fully opening the parks at least this year. So that process is already starting, but we would anticipate that hiring the additional summer help, those actually normally get hired right around this time. And within the next month, the recreation coordinator position would be, and Ryan can correct me if I'm wrong here, it would be half of what the salary is normally budgeted for and adjusted for the months of March to the end of the year. So if you'd like the total amount that we budgeted for that, it is approximately $20,000. I think it's the exact amount is $19,493.
So would she come back on full-time or part-time? Is that
Part.
So that position would come back part-time.
Okay. Thank you.
And again, we would need to, we discussed in the finance committee meeting that we would need to have a special voting session probably this week in order to get that rolling so that we can get it started within the next week or so. I know that we're going to have to probably call a special meeting, and I wanted to wait to see what people's availability. We talked about possibly Thursday at 5:30-ish. It will only take a couple of minutes. Is that what we kind of discussed, Wednesday or Thursday?
Correct.
Does anybody have any major problems with either night, either time? I'm kind of pushing more for Thursday. I know the mayor has another meeting, 6 you said?
6 o'clock. Yeah, there'll be one session, one item for that special meeting. The later in the week we call it, the better, in order to give notice. But I think Thursday night at 5:30 seems to be a target spot if folks are available.
Thursday works for me.
That would work for me.
Okay, I'm not hearing any. All
Works.
right.
As well.
All right, so let's plan on Thursday at 5:30. So Eddie, if you want to get that, out to the public, to the media, and the notices out, and anything else that has to be done for that. So it would just be to act upon the appropriations and bringing back the rec coordinator and appropriating the money for the Parks Department. Correct?
That's correct, President Dose. It will be the budget adjustments. It will also be the permission to hire the additional workers due to the hiring freeze. And so we will have those resolutions prepared and sent with the special meeting notice and agenda. I do want to just note for you all as council and for the public that we did investigate and look into see if we could feasibly do the summer playground program, which oftentimes takes a lot of work to put together and starts planning in January. That does add an additional cost of just under $30,000 to the park. So that puts us very close to kind of our cliff there for funding. In addition, there are significant requirements and adjustments that need to be made for protection of COVID. And so we did not feel it was feasible this year in order to have that program, given the number of requirements and planning that goes into it. And with having only a part-time recreation coordinator, it didn't seem feasible. And as I know President Dulce and others have mentioned to me, that this is an opportunity for us to take a look at and see how do we work to make that summer program, that summer playground program, even better in the next year as we start to budget for it for the next year.
Right. Okay.
So the parks will be open for like festivals and things like that, and
That is
or
correct.
okay.
You looking to plan a festival? I know some public safety committee members are ready to hear it.
Oh yeah.
Anything else for finance, Kim?
No, just note that we have 2 items for claims and executive session.
All right, we'll move on. Vicki, I didn't see anything for housing. Is there anything they had to report on for that?
Yes, Mr. President, I'm sorry. We do have one item for discussion. If I can ask Crystal, she's going to give us an update on the BPU utility assistant grant.
Thank you, Councilwoman James. And I apologize for the short notice on this, but we actually were able to just wrap this up today. So I wanted to be able to share that we have completed our utility assistance grant and share that we were able to award $100,680 to 70 households, 126 dependents. So there are 126 dependents within those households for a total of 220 low to moderate income persons, which is determined per HUD's income standards. So that's 220 people in the community that we were able to assist with that grant. And the Board of Public Utilities will be receiving a check in the amount of $100,680 in the next couple of days. And I just thought that we would share that good news.
Very good news. Thank you. Good job, your staff. Good job.
It's all them. They did an awesome job. Stephanie Wright was on it.
It was awesome.
Anything else for housing?
No, that's it. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you. If not, we'll move on to public safety and Councilman Sheldon.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have the same two resolutions, first two resolutions, finance had. First one, suspending the hiring freeze and authorizing the filling of one full-time police officer in the Jamestown Police Department. The second resolution was accepting $8,500 donated by Kurt Grimm of Rand Precision Machining Company for an explosion detection patrol tracking canine. And $250 donated by Sloan Melhewish Incorporated for expenses related to JPD Comfort Dog Hope. And the last thing we have is an item for discussion. It's an update on the Police Reform Committee and the release of the public draft. The draft was released last week for Jamestown Police Reform Task Force Draft Plan for public comment. It's available for public review and comment. The task force may be making changes before submitting to the council in late March. It's been made. It's on the city's website, so comments can be made via email to reform@jamestownnyyork.gov. A public presentation of the full document for the full city council and public will be held via Zoom on March 22nd at 6 p.m. with broadcast on the city's website, social media, and YouTube pages. Excuse me. So as of earlier today, I believe we'd only had one comment made. I don't know, Zach, had we had any more since then?
Sorry about that. Just getting back to unmute myself. No, we have not received any more. It's just that one comment so far. So encourage the public to comment on the report.
I just kind of looking at it, and I know we worked on like some short-term goals, some metrics, and how we're going to measure it. And I know we talked about it, but I know this is a draft, and I don't know if it just didn't make the draft copy, but it's going to make the final copy. I just want to make sure that gets in, and I think we were going to put some definition to what do we mean when we say short term? Is it 3 months? Is it 3 years? So I just want to make sure that gets back, gets back in. I don't know what happened. And like I said, again, I know we talked about metrics also. Councilwoman Graham Reinhardt was very adamant, and she has talked to us many times about we needed this. And I know we went through, when we did the process, we went through and we had added those, but again, it didn't seem to make the draft. And I know it's a draft and it's a working, living document. So I would just hope that those term limits and those metrics would make the final report.
Certainly can make those changes in our meetings that we're having in the upcoming weeks.
All right. Thank you, Zach. And thank you, Zach, for all your work. And, I would like to thank Councilwoman Tamu Graham Reinhardt for, we're a committee, but she has been leading this process. And I just really want to thank her for her leadership in this effort. And I'm just a tag along, and Brett, Councilperson Brett Sheldon and Councilman Jeff Russell has been given a lot of input, and it's helpful to have someone who is a retired policeman, so you get a better insight of some things. But I just in the community itself, a lot of tireless work, and I know a lot of the stakeholders really, appreciate all the work that they put into it. It's just just amazing how the community has come together with this effort. And it's I know we're going to have a shining document, a working, not only, because a lot of people put a lot of heart and soul and thought in it, and Chief Jackson and, in his police officers, Forcer, and, our newly outreach officer. When you start naming people, you're like, oh God, you don't want to leave nobody out. But, everybody who has worked on this, especially the community, it's just been an amazing process, that we've gone through. And I'm just really, it makes me really proud of our city to see, the work that we have already had completed. We have a lot of work to do, but it's good to know that we were already have a lot of the things that, where we were already in the process of doing. And so that makes you really feel good about your city. So I just really want to thank everybody who has partaken in that. And because when we get done, we're going to have something that we're proud of to turn into the state.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vicki. I just want to say for the, again, for the community, please give us your feedback. And in my view, while this is being submitted to the state April 1st, I consider a document that can consistently be reviewed and revised. So it is not a finite document that we can never revisit again. But if there are things that we find later that need to be changed, then we do what we need to do. So there are, I think, from what the mayor and Zach have said, they've looked at I haven't looked at any, but they've looked at some of the submissions, and as many different cities as there are in the state of New York, there are that many different types of plans. So there is no one right way to do a plan. We hope that ours is acceptable by the community, and it's something that we can certainly learn and grow from. This is like turning around an aircraft carrier, so not everything's going to happen tomorrow. But I ask that the community continue to be vigilant about the progress we make and give us feedback.
Thank you. And you guys, you stole the thunder. I was just going to thank the work you guys.
Sorry, Mr. President.
Just the work that you guys have done on the Public Safety Committee is it's above and beyond what normally has been done in committee. And I also want to thank the chief for time and effort he's put into it, and want to encourage everybody again to go on the website, read it, look it over, and comment and let it and give us the feedback and let us know what you think. So thank you very much to all of you guys that worked on that and did a tremendous job. Thank you.
President.
Okay, is that it for safety?
Just like to remind the public that the public comment ends this Friday, March 12th at 5 p.m. The Public Safety Police Reform Committee will be meeting Wednesday to start reviewing the comments. So if you have something you'd like to put in there before Wednesday, we'd appreciate that. And we'll be continuing to work on it.
Very good. Thank you. All right, we'll move on to Public Works and Councilman Nelson.
Thank you, Mr. President. The first thing that we are discussing, I met with, and in fact, Jeff Levin and I met with some residents up on Tower Street about the problem with the parking. On Mondays, they have to move their cars off the street, and they cross Pullman and then park on Elm, and then they were getting ticketed, and much to their aggravation. So we decided that they can, on Mondays, they will be allowed to park on Elm. We'll change the sign so they can park on Elm on Monday, but not Tuesday. And that should alleviate the problem. It's kind of a minor fix, and shouldn't be too much trouble. I don't know if Jeff, anything you want to add to that?
We're recommending that. We didn't decide.
Recommending.
We decided amongst ourselves.
No, that's true. You're right. That's something that the Public Works Committee would need to vote on. After I was back up there this past weekend, and they're very appreciative of this change if we can make this happen. And I think, I would recommend it, Jeff I know this seems like a logical solution. It would help them out a great deal. So is there any other questions about that from Public Works or anyone else? Okay.
Is this the result of snow removal?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's one of our main, we have the narrow streets, Jeff, as you know, have maintenance days, 1 day a week. Allow us to get up and clean the other side of the street, to park on one side only. So this will allow them to go to the other block. They didn't like the idea of parking on Pullman because it's so steep. And then, and looking at it with them, this seemed like a very simple answer. It doesn't really screw us up too badly from a maintenance standpoint.
Is that
Just
for the
the
winter
stretch
months?
of
They're
that
cut off?
stretch of Elm, there's not one house on that part of that street, so it wouldn't affect anyone on the street, living on the street.
Well, isn't that what was proposed in the letter that was read earlier from the Tower Street resident to move the parking toward the?
Yeah,
parkway?
and that was,
They wanted to remove the parking. They didn't want
mhm.
any signage at all.
Okay. Okay, so, but it's consistent with their asking to park on the Elm Street side.
Right.
They were very happy.
Okay.
Is this end at a certain time of the year? Is there a certain
No,
month?
it's actually yearly or all year round, but it's only really enforced in the winter because of
Okay.
snow park purposes.
Okay. Just want to make that clear for everybody. So in July, it's the same as January.
Mhm.
Okay, well, would, just, I guess we need a motion from the Public Works Committee, I guess, to approve this.
So moved.
Okay,
Second.
Can I hear a second? Okay. Any other discussion on this?
Sounds like you've done a good job talking to everybody. It seems like a simple solution.
Right. I agree.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, opposed? No. All right, that's carried then. The other thing on the agenda for discussion and this is it's a process where we're still working with a group of people on the deer management issue, and we have a meeting on Wednesday at 7. And I've been trying to do some research as to what's out there, what are other cities doing for deer management, and I think maybe my biggest takeaway from our discussions is we need to think about education and safety. And we need a plan that's safe, and we need everyone to know what it is and why we're doing it. And I think one of the best programs that I've come across out there is the one that they use at Cornell. And I don't really want to get into all the weeds in this because we're still talking about this, but they do a deer management program because they've seen the same things we've seen. They've seen the deer population increase, the damage to trees and forests and shrubs and bushes and all kinds of things. And they've seen a higher rate of Lyme's disease than they've seen in 20 or 30 years. So I don't know that anyone would argue that the deer population has not changed. It's definitely increased. So, deer management and working with bow hunters is something that they've done. We've looked at some other solutions. I've looked at things like sterilization, which honestly, I don't think we could afford at $1,200 per deer. I mean, $1,200 per deer for sterilization. I don't think that's a very cost-effective way to go. But we're going to continue talking about this Wednesday. We have some other, Jeff will be there, and Brent, and some other members of the community, Dan Stone, and some other people we've invited to talk about this. Somebody from the DEC will be there. So we're still looking into this, and I think we could come up with a plan that will work, that will be safe. And, you know, we're also talking, you know, probably end of November into December before we do this. So we're still in the early stages. But I think some of the programs I found look promising, and I think we can come up with something that will work. I guess that's really all there is. I don't know if anybody has any questions.
Just keep us updated on the progress and any recommendations that come out of that committee.
One quick question, Tom. When you said Cornell has a program, are you referring to the city of Ithaca?
No, it's Cornell University.
Okay.
I mean, their deer population was out of control. And it's, yeah, I mean, it's an interesting, you know, Cornell is, I mean, Ithaca is, I don't know, similar to Jamestown, I guess, in size and kind of the same. But, you know, when you read through some of the problems that they've had, it seems very similar to what we've been going through. And so it's worth a look, I think. And, you know, and they've kind of partnered with the hunters, the bow hunters, and finding a safe way to try to manage the deer population. You know, I mean, hunters are, most of the ones that I know are pretty conservative people. They're concerned about the environment. They don't want to just hunt one year. They want to hunt next year and the year after that and the year after that. That's kind of, you know, the way they're thinking. So I think it's something that we can, you know, we can work with. And and sure, there's probably other methods and other cities out there that we can take a look at. So I think between now and November, we'll come up with a plan that can, again, we can educate the public about it and it'll be safe.
Thank you. Anything else for Public Works?
No, that is it.
Very good. All right. If not, then we'll move on to the mayor's remarks. Mayor has anything for open session?
I do. I have a few items. Thank you, President Dulce. A couple items tonight. First and foremost, although we've kind of danced around it and talked a bit about it, there's one announcement I do have to make, that we officially retired John Williams from the Parks Department. I've been told by third-hand accounts that he's enjoying his retirement and living it peacefully between here and a new camp he just bought. So it's out in the woods and enjoying it. But we officially want to congratulate Dan Stone, who's on this call tonight, as our new parks manager for the city of Jamestown. So
Congratulations.
Congratulations again, Dan.
Yes, congratulations.
Thank you. I feel it's a privilege to be able to hold the title of Parks Manager. Really looking forward to what we can do. I know my guys are really excited that we're opening parks this year. I actually started today by going down and getting things ready at the stadium. Marie had mentioned at the start of the meeting about a letter that was in the paper last week from Lynn's Funeral Home. we're real lucky to have the group of guys that we have working in the Parks Department. They love what they do, and it shows in everything we do. So thank you for the opportunity, and really looking forward to it.
Thanks, Dan. I think the two hardest things facing Dan right now are, one, cleaning out his office and moving to a new one, and two, will be to find someone to work underneath him. So this will be quite an experience, and we'll keep you all informed on how that progresses.
Just one historical note. Someone who lives in my ward mentioned to me when the state came through and widened 3rd Street, they had recommended that the oak trees be removed at that point. And I was not aware of that, but they brought it to my attention and said, you know, as I mentioned, that we would be looking forward to the new trees that would be planted to replace the cathedral oaks. They told me that had we probably planted them, they might not have been cathedrals, but I'm assuming that they would have been much bigger than But I expect we'll see a nice 3rd Street display once Dan gets everything done and his crew. So thank you very much. We're looking forward to it on the 4th or the west side.
Great. So there's just a couple other items that I wanted to let the council know. Although not as popular as the police reform plan that we've been going through, which is due at the beginning of April. Also due in April, the city is required to pass a pandemic operations plan, of which our team has finalized. We will be sending to the unions and to the council members for review in accordance with the law passed on that. It is not much different than the original reopening plan that I shared with you all when we reopened from COVID. So we had prepared for that. And we thought this was going to be a thing we'd have to deal with in the future. So be prepared. In the next couple of days, I will be sending you guys out a draft of that pandemic operations plan for review, comment, and vote this month. We do have to certify that to the state, similar to the police reform initiative. The other statewide item I just want to update the council on, and this is something that came up actually today in one of our Board of Public Utility meetings. There is an executive order currently limiting the public from meeting from the governor up until March 16th. We have not seen an extension of that executive order under the new under the new law that the state had recently passed. Any executive order from the governor does have a public comment and waiting period to allow the legislature to step in. We are watching closely to see how that will impact on whether we will be meeting in person again or whether we'll continue with Zoom. So we'll keep you all updated, but just wanted to give you a heads up that that executive order only extends until March 16th. And we've not heard yet if the governor is going to extend that.
Thank you. I was going to bring that up in my notes at the end. I wanted to see, I want to look at if, particularly if we get into April and May, if we can start moving back to meeting in person again. So we'll wait and see on that. But I think we're getting to that point where it's time to get back, with recommendations, obviously, and with the legal aspect of it. But I think that, sooner we can get back, the better for everybody. So keep us updated on that. Thank you.
Will do. Sorry for stealing your thunder, Mr.
No,
President.
it's all right. You're all good today.
The other thing I want to just inform the public about is the Department of Development will be hosting some meetings regarding food trucks and folks' experiences with food trucks just for the public. And these will all be posted on the city's website as well as through the city's social media sites, as well as a link to join. They will be putting on some listening sessions on March 11th at 6:30, March 18th at 6:30, and March 22nd at 3 p.m. And we will send out a list to council as well as put those on our websites for any member of the public that would wish to join or to provide a comment period on food trucks here in the city of Jamestown. Okay. In the same vein, I'm excited to announce that as of March 19th, restaurants in the city and across the state can now operate at 75% capacity. We are getting there. We're getting closer. Hopefully that in the next few months, we can continue to lift restrictions and start to have some sense of normalcy. We'll continue to work with restaurants in the city to help them through this process and to hopefully get them back up and running at 75% capacity. And fingers crossed, in a couple months, maybe back to 100% capacity. So if you do have constituents or other folks that are calling you and asking you questions, as of March 19th, restaurants can operate at 75% capacity. Any questions on that? Great. Two more items for you, and then I'm done rambling. We'd mentioned a couple weeks back that the comptroller's office was doing an audit of the city finances due to COVID purposes. It is a project that they were working on. They had selected cities across New York, cities, towns, and villages to look at how COVID had impacted budgets for 2019, 20, and 21. We did complete that a couple weeks ago. We worked with them. When we say this was a quick audit, they got it done in like, I don't know, Ryan, what would you say? 2 weeks? Can't hear you, Ryan.
Yeah, about 2 weeks. That sounds about right. Yeah.
So very quick, they were really pleased to see all the work that we had done early on to help stem the tide of COVID, and they'll be providing us with a draft of that audit for comment, hopefully in the next couple weeks. And once we have a final audit file information, we'll share that with the members of the council. And the last one I have, I saved the best for last. As of a couple days ago, many of you may have been waiting or watching eagerly to see if the Senate was going to pass the recovery bill, which included not only stimulus payments to the majority of Americans, but provisions for state and local aid. At this time, the city of Jamestown as an entitlement community was included in that state and local aid. This morning and as of last night, I confirmed with our state or federal representatives, the city will be eligible for a federal aid payment of $29.870 million. That is a large number. That is quite shocking. But no, there are some strings attached. That funding, we won't get it all at once. It needs to be used to provide a response to COVID, the potential for premium pay, to make up for lost revenue reductions, as well as water, sewer, and broadband infrastructure. We are waiting for the House to then pass the legislation again, which will then go to the president's desk for signature. And once that happens, the Treasury Department will issue guidance for cities and municipalities to directly access those funds. I will note, since we are an entitlement community, provides us a little bit different usage. Normally that funding would go to the state first, and then the state would then provide that money to us, many times adjusting their payment to us for the aid to municipalities. Because we are an entitlement community, that money will come directly from the Treasury Department. It will not go to the state first. So we have some advantages there. But we are awaiting additional information on how that money can be spent. In the meantime, my staff and our leadership team will be meeting to put together projects that could be used for that funding. So we hope to have to you all a draft plan that we can then start to work together and find a way to handle those funds to be used not only for those items, but also general economic development here in the city of Jamestown. Any questions?
Good news.
I dropped the big check for last.
That's the big one.
That feels really good, Eddie. Thank you for sharing. Interested to see how soon you can tell us what the details are.
Great news, great news.
Yep. And I just have a couple items for executive session. I think President Dulce, as you mentioned at the beginning, there are 2 claims for executive session that was mentioned by Councilmember Eklund, and we have 1 item which is collective bargaining agreement.
Is there anything else to come in open session before we go to executive session? Okay, seeing none, do I have a motion to go into executive session for contract negotiations and claims?
So moved.
Second,
By Councilwoman Eklund, I think, and
yes.
ended by
Karuba, second.
Councilwoman Karuba. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and there'll be no action taken? I assume.
That is correct. No action taken. And if we could please have left behind for us Mr. Ramondo and Mr. Thompson. And I think that's all we need. Elliot, do we need anyone else?
Mr. Haskins.
Oh, yes. Sorry, Mr. Haskins as well, please. And see him on the Hollywood Squares. All right, perfect.
All right, we'll give you a minute to stop the streaming